Ranked by most likely to pop up
Which
in
crawl?
furry porn. You underestimate the imaginations of those with kind of okay art skills. Great weapon tier list. It's time. Tier list by Hades. Great weapons of the mortal realms. Alright.
So fucking big.
So fucking big. Artorias, thanks for the 1,000 bits. I appreciate it. The power of meat tier? Yeah. I have it already here in presentation mode, which means dark mode, obviously. Grand Slammers S tier easy. I need to figure out the rules here. It looks like we got a bunch of good stuff. Two-handed stuff. Where are my rules? Are we going with power? Are we going with War Scroll only power? Are we going for how cool it looks? Am I mixing in? I mean, Hades, it was your 1,000 hours in PowerPoint. Are we doing sex appeal? Are we doing rule of cool? Are we doing stats? Are we doing how effective the unit is on the table? Or am I kind of pulling in everything and really fudging stuff and getting really philosophical to mixing it all together? I don't normally take requests, but I actually don't care which way we go with it. So you spent 1,000 hours in MS Power Paint. Let's get Ultra combo, big combo. The people are speaking, man, and Hades hasn't even typed anything. Your voice might be drowned out by the people. Rank by bigness. Oh, okay. By physical bigness. Okay. I like a combo too. It's too easy to just do power level, and it's also too easy to just do coolness. So let's go big. DK rates break. Hey, thanks for the primer. I appreciate it. 20 months? Wow. Your comment of big, big, big is true. What classifies a great weapon? I think it just means two-handed. I think it just means two-handed or like long. I didn't make this. We'll have to find out. First up, Hearthguard berserkers. These dudes have something like a halberd-ish two-hander, and it's got a chain attached to it and a flaming brazier, so that and this totally wouldn't work, but maybe it kind of would work. I don't know. You swing it and you hit somebody, right? And they are struck by a poleaxe. That hurts. Oh, they called it a poleaxe. All right, so I'll call it a poleaxe if that's what they do. You hit somebody with it, and then the momentum of that carries the brazier filled with lava, whips it around, and smacks them in the back with it and lights them on fire. So I like the ingenuity. It probably wouldn't work. It's really stupid. But if stupid awesome is the premise for much of Age of Sigmar, and it is, then I suppose we're right at home. They are the... Yeah, and they do mortal wounds on you. If you get a 6, and it causes 2 mortal wounds, which is big on 6s, kind of making up for their lack of Randir. 2 attacks each. This shit's kind of cool. It is dumb, but it's also kind of cool, and the poleaxes are the way to go. There was a time a long time ago when the broad axes were actually the way to go, but that was like early 2nd edition. Yeah, it's more like a molten flail, like a two-handed pole flail with a piece of magma at the end with spikes on it. It just also has an axe head for some reason. So that's hella stupid. But it's cool and it's strong, like it's the one you choose. I think this is at very least touched by grace. It's at least touched by grace. It's strong, it's the one you choose, it's on a unit that's very good. Maybe the standout foot unit in the army, since the army came out, just about. Well, no, that's not the case. Very early on, like when the shit came out right away, the Sling Shield guys were actually pretty good, but they dropped off as the game matured, and then it became the Hearthguard show. I'm going to say touched by grace. They're not quite Grand Slammer, because they are a bit dumb, even if it's cool dumb, and their damage isn't like insane, although I've definitely died to them. Also 511. Touched grace. It's good. It's good. Two-handed flares are actually cool weapons. Yeah, I agree. They do not wield them how... Yeah. But Flails need to... I don't know. Flails get a bad rap. They look cool. The broadaxes actually do look cooler on the model, I agree. Vanquishers. Could it be... Am I allowed to... I want to check the tapes on this. Vank. I just want to... Alright, we have the Mighty Doot Horn. Yeah, blowing the Storm Horn there. These are two-handers, alright. I wasn't sure because I saw the big flag. I like a big flag. These are proper two-handed swords. Little extra grip up here if you want to actually fight with it the way they generally did. Although none of these people are. I don't know that you would stab someone with it. That'd be a tough sell for me with a greatsword. Look at this hair blowing in the wind. Fucking, you're using a two-handed sword as Stormcast and it's got like the blonde meme guy. Yes. Hold up. I'm a big first principles guy. So when I have a quandary, I tend to go back to first principles and think about things. Because someone in chat said, you like the half skirts on the Vanquishers, but the weapon is kind of meh. And I'm like, well, are we rating the weapons only, or are we rating the units? And I see the title of this, Great Weapon Units. So I think it's plenty fair to talk about the dudes holding the weapons. I feel we're allowed. The door's open. I actually like the half skirts. Reminds me of third time they updated Cloud. You could do a Cloud almost with this, except in they look cool, but the rules fail. I'm gonna check the rules. These guys, there's nothing wrong with them. I think they're cool, particularly like some of the dudes. This guy in particular. Actually, none of the other people look that good. It's just this guy. This dude is sweet. To a lesser degree, this one, although I want to see it without helmet. What's the profile, though? 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1/1. You are using a two-handed sword. And your two-handed sword only does 1 damage. Like, this one only does 1 damage as well, but at least it smacks you for 2 mortals sometimes. This one does no such thing. And they swing more if they're fighting against big units. Yeah, this is a sad profile. This is a sad profile for these weapons. The dudes look like okay. Awesome banner Chad. It's illegal for a banner to be good in Age of Sigmar, I guess. So the fact that the standard bearer just gives +1 to bravery, I sleep. But guy in a half cloak always means business in anime. What's the guy with the rose from Yu Yu Hakusho? Yeah, that's true. The half cloaks are cool. Because they're horde breakers. You know what else is a horde breaker? Anything that does good damage. And why cut it close? These dudes... I'm halfway between situational and no maidens. Are Vanquishers used at all? Are they used in anything? I haven't heard of anybody using Vanquishers. They are battle line, and they have Redeemer. These are good qualities. 125 is like reasonable-ish. Yeah, I can't see using them over anything else. Maybe. You're not like terrifically dumb for using them. They're just like meat and potato kind of offensive guys that are really cheap in battle line. No maidens. The cool half cloaks can't save you. But you're not Ale Guzzler. I might think about situational if some of the other stuff down here is like different types of really bad. But so far, no maidens. Next. Namarti thralls, finally blessed with 2-inch range on those weapons. At last. At last. This isn't the clothing tier list, true. These dudes, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1/1. Not a very two-handed weapon profile, but they do have sweeping blows, which, if you're fighting a target that has a wounds characteristic of 1, they still suck, but if they're fighting somebody who's big, if they're targeting somebody with a wounds characteristic of 3 or more, the weapons become great. Like, truly great weapons in both names. Because you add 1 to the damage characteristic, you double their damage. And so they become 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2, which is a great, truly a great weapon profile. But only if you're fighting stuff with a wounds characteristic of 3 or more. The weapons look sick, actually. The Marty Thralls themselves look awesome. They're like the elves from Hellboy 2. They look sick. And their price is right, and they got a whole bunch of amazing as fuck rules in the new book, if you wish to use them. It's possible to actually use them. instead of just as something to cool on your shelf, I guess. Let's check the tapes. Look at these dudes. Alright, they do have, at times, some like, edgelord kind of poses here. But, you know, he looks like they look like they're swinging that shit. This dude here, look at this. This is quality. Good pose, nice long axe head, different serrated type of axe head. A proper, man, these are really serrated, aren't they? Okay, some of them are built for, I guess, hooking people, or they got the wiggly business. These are alright. A proper two-handed sword lady here, and this one too, using the good one. Overall, I like it. They're just great. I have very few complaints. My only complaint is that they only get the good profile against wounds 3 up, but everything else is so sick that I'm probably putting them in Grand Slammer tier. The unit itself is good. It's really good against 3 or up. Aesthetics are on point. Grand Slammers. Cooler than Hearthguard, for sure. Next, the Kroxigor. Guy's doing a charged R2. Yeah. Alright, Moonhammers rise up. Drakebite Maul. 2-inch range, 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1-2. And then Moonhammer can hit everybody within 2. 4s and 3s, 1-2. 4s and 3s, they're not particularly accurate, but rend 1 damage 2 is good. 4 attacks a model is pretty nice. And the Moonhammer is decent against hordes, and you can choose not to use it if you don't want to. So, like, their weapons are not bad. 50 mil base is gigantic, right? 150 points for 3 of them is maybe pushing it. Let's check the aesthetics, shall we? Also keep in mind no one uses these guys because they're not very good. Well, I wouldn't say it's because they're not very good, although it is. It's also because in Seraphon, you're spoiled for choice of way better shit. Oh no. This one's face is my face. I mean, good definition on the abs, but this is like we're pretty much at the company embarrassment stage on this one. Can we have a tier list for best army book cover at the... Oh yeah, Oberon. I would love to do that one. And it would be really fast. If somebody makes that tier list, I could do it, and it wouldn't take more than 10 minutes. Disclaimer, it would probably take longer than 10 minutes, but it would be a fun one. I like being a critic, it's fun. These guys look terrible, and they're not particularly good in the game. But their weapons are cool. They're not, like, impressive, but they're cool-ish. 4s and 3s, though. Alright. We're guzzling. We are guzzling. Bestigors. These dudes. Only 1-inch reach. For shame. You're losing points already. 2 attacks, 4s and 3s. Alright. Losing a small amount of points here. Damage 1. Ugh. Alright. And the points keep dropping. You add 1 hit rolls for attacks made by this unit if the enemy unit has 10 or more models, which is like sometimes the case. And you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks against order, which is a stupid rule. Add 1 attacks characters to units' melee weapons on a turn they charge. That's good. This is legitimately good. 3 attacks a model now. That's pretty cool. You can run and charge with the Brayhorn. That's great. And also consider they're inside of Beasts of Chaos, which means that this Rend 1 is almost never really Rend 1. It's usually like Rend 3. Usually might be a strong word. But if you're within the aura range of the big rock, it's Rend 2. You have 2 or 3 different spells that apply pseudo Rend, except it's a better version of Rend because it reduces their armor characteristic. They have Rend 1,000,000, so that's sick. It's usually 2 or 3, I would say. It can be higher, but it's like unrealistic. Oh yeah, the Rend is board wide now. It's not even just Dong expands range. Pardon me. I forgot that they got the good Warhammer White Dwarf update. Can I make this scroll a little smaller so chat does not cover it? Thanks for Onion John. Sometimes I forget because I can't see the thing on my screen. Apologies. Thanks for the tier 1. I appreciate it. I don't either. Anyway, what do we do with this? They have 1-inch range, only 1 damage. It's not a two-handed weapon. It might look like a two-handed weapon, but Games Workshop has seen fit to not make it a two-handed weapon. Now, they do have Ren 2 or 3, which is badass. And they get 3 attacks on the charge, which is also pretty good, right? But it doesn't strike me as a two-handed weapon in any of the ways that you kind of want it to. And now I'm left in a strange position here. Because they're not bad. In fact, they're kind of good. And yet I don't think they're not a great weapon, as I understand it. So what do we do with this? I will make a new tier. It is going to be gray. Wait a minute. Add a row below. This is gray. Not a great weapon. There we go. This is not worse than Ale Guzzler. It just means you're not in the category. Right? You know, quality of rules, it's probably situational, maybe even touched by grace, right? It's up here power-wise. But they are indeed holding two-handed weapons on the model. None of the rules are written to imply that in any way. And all the rend they get is from elsewhere as well. So not a great weapon. But this isn't a bad thing. It just means we talk about you on some other tier list. You're not worse than Ale Guzzler. Anyway, next. Ahem. Vanari bladelords. And let's get a pick tour up here. Page can't be reached. Too many people trying to go on the website. Alright. Proper elven, well, Aelvan high elves with silly helmets, but this is a time-honored tradition. It's nothing new. First edition high elves had stupid-ass, huge, impractical helmets. It's like a rite of passage, right? Anyway, they got two-handers. They're looking sharp. They're looking clean. They're slicing. This dude's dual-wielding, although it looks like a different type, maybe longswords. I like how they have the little, Japanese flag kind of horseback rider thing. I don't know what that thing is called, but it's kind of cool. Aesthetically, looks good. It looks exactly like what they're trying to look like, what the intent was. So, aesthetics, pass. What about the rules? 2-inch range detected, so actual greatswords. And you can either perfectly strike something or furiously fight something. And so you have one attack, it always hits because you are an anime character, because that's LRL. 2s and 2s 1. So it doesn't its damage isn't great, but hey, Ren 2, 2-inch reach, you auto hit because you're the main character. These are Sun Metal weapons, but they don't count as Sun Metal weapons like everything else called Sun Metal weapons does, I think, in the book. So they don't have that like Mortal Wound on a 6. Maybe they ran out of space for its rules, I'm not sure. And then Sun Metal Greatblade Flurry of Blows has you painstakingly waste a shitload of time counting every single model within 2 inches of every single model. So you're doing multiplying for each of these, which is the most... I know it's realistic, but it's just a huge time waster, and it's so bad. To get like 1,000,000 attacks, but the attacks suck. No rend 1 damage, right? I would have probably had it be 4 per model if the unit you're fighting against has 10 guys, 3 per model if it's 5 guys, or 2 per model if it's 5 guys, etc. I would just do it like that, or maybe if it's reinforced or not, or something, just to speed things up. But no, let's measure from each of the 5 people and count up each time. Annoying. But my annoyance at the resolution of the rules isn't hugely weighted here. And they're mostly like bodyguards instead. What do I rate these guys as? The bodyguard rule is useful. They're not useful because of their attacks though. They're useful because of their bodyguard ability. Pretty much. 130 points for 5 of them. It's decent. They're not exactly bringing the big damn. Seems like the absolute definition of situational. They're situational because they look good, and their weapons aren't bad, but they're not great. They're interesting and cool, and they're at least 2-inch range, right? But you don't take them because they're great weapon fighters. You take them because they're excellent bodyguards. So I'm putting them on situational. And you know what? I was really looking for some kind of great weapon feeling damage component, and I just didn't get it. I got damage 1 with no procs or anything. So I'm thinking situational on these guys. Next. Bladegeist Revenant. And this one has been stretched a little, so I'm going to fix it. Bladegeist Revenants. These dudes. Alright. If we're talking aesthetics, holy shit. Bladegeist. Look at these dudes. God damn. Huge. Classic Zweihanders. Really get a feeling of movement. They're like, these things are so heavy that the ghosts are kind of almost acting as the counterweight for it. Great swinging, and it just looks huge. This guy's just finished swinging. He's going back for the counterattack. Awesome movement. Got the Dr. Doom helmets. These dudes are awesome looking. Super cool. And proper, you know, looking weapons as well. Aesthetic, S tier. For sure. What about the rules? 1-inch range? God damn it. It's a flying ghost with a two-handed sword. Give him 2-inch reach. Jesus Christ. And 1 damage? Alright. This War Scroll can be used in the following War Scroll battalions. Shroudguard, well, not so much. 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1/1. Add 1 of the attack's characteristic. If this unit made a charge move in the same turn, this is a strong ability. They can retreat and charge, so you can always turn on your Whirling Death ability. Is this the new profile? I'm going to check the tapes. I think it is. Where's my tape checking for Night Haunt exactly? Here we go. Let's just make sure. Bladegeist. 2-3-3-1-1 Whirling Death. Yep. Still 1-inch range. Alright, tapes have been checked. You missed that. Oh, did I miss a hats off? Apologies. I truly did miss it. I didn't see it. Okay, their damage sucks. Their ability is cool. Range 1-inch, damage 1-inch, and way more so than the Bestigors. These are so clearly supposed to be two-handers. I mean, you could argue that the Bestigors versions are supposed to be as well. And maybe I might start running into more of this. They do have that one sub-faction that makes them kind of good. Situational. They were cursed with 1-inch reach and only 1 damage despite having two-handers, which is crazy. They get an extra attack when they charge, I guess, but so do Bestigors. Does this go into not a great weapon even though it should be tier? That's too harsh, maybe. I'm rechecking the tapes on this one. Yeah, these are clearly supposed to be two-handers. The integrity of this tier list is really... it's front row center right now. Because if these aren't great weapons because of their stats, then the Bladegeist Revenants shouldn't be either, and a lot of other ones won't be. What do we do about that? So, it's just not a great weapon, but it's good. It's 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1/1, with no extra abilities. It's not a great weapon. The unit is good, just like Bestigors, but it just doesn't have the stats to back it up in any way. The dudes wielding them have no maidens. Bullgors. Okay, here we go. We got some great weapons on hand here. The beef. The absolute beef. Also, you might ask, why are these guys in here? If you could argue that they don't have great weapons either, well, they at least have sweeping blows back and forth. They have a rule that makes you think like it might be a great weapon. With the attacking multiple dudes, that's like sweeping your greatsword back and forth, keeping stuff at bay. Anyway, I feel the need to explain myself here. Bullgors, their weapons are big. Is it the current version here? Didn't Bullgors get a new scroll in that White Dwarf update? Hold up. I don't think I have the White Dwarf update on hand. I thought Bullgors... Somebody did. Somebody got a new scroll. We just did it. So it feels like I should remember it, right? Tape checking intensifies. Nope. Should all Minotaurs have axes, or is there another acceptable weapon for a Minotaur? I'm a firm believer in creative freedom and kit bashing. So any huge-ass fucking weapon you want to give a Minotaur, as long as it looks cool, we're good. I'm not particularly judgmental about that one. These dudes have great axes. 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -2, 3. Oh. Give me that Gordon Ramsay meme, finally. Some big fucking weapons. Alright. Damage 3. Grown man damage. Ren 2. And this is in Beast of Chaos, so it's automatically Ren 3. And sometimes Ren 4. Oof. Big. Alright. Only 2 attacks per model, which is pathetically sad, and they hit on 4s, which is also kind of sad. But you know what? These are great weapons. Rend 3 or 4, 3 damage. Let's fucking go. Also Blood Greed, which is on the wound roll of 6, and it's a mortal wound, so kind of like whatever. But hell yeah, brother. This is the shit. 130 for 3 of them on humongous bases. Their battle line, if you're a general, is a Doom 64 bull. That's sick. Where are my Bullgors at? Oh yeah, I guess I could talk about aesthetics, which they're going to lose some points for. Yeesh. God damn, that's ugly. I've seen them in person. They look a little worse, maybe. Kind of depends on how you paint them, as with all things, right? Man, the straight up Bullgors of Chaos that they just released for Slaves to Darkness look hella fucking awesome, though. That's for fucking sure. Alright, so Bullgors. The rend and damage, and what's this? Range? What's this? 2 attacks per model on 4s for a 50 mil base. Look at the top of his head. No, I'm still doing it. We've landed. You can't fall much lower because they're not situational. They fucking slap. Rend 3 or 4, damage 3. They're cool. Let them land. All right. And these are more properly great weapons than these are, which is why they are touched by grace. Yeah, they were touched by grace, but they weren't touched in the face, that's for sure. Next. You would like to record the record to show that this was made before you knew about the Ogroid Theridons and wasn't bothered to put them in here, but you could give them an honorable mention. Objection hearsay. That being said, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. I only used them as a reference. They're too new yet. They haven't even been released, I don't think. So, you don't think they're on the list, but after the list completed, where would you land Ironjaw Brutes with Jagged Gore Hackers? Grand Slammer, possibly Chad Peace Wearers. Like, we're talking high tier. Next, Chaos Chosen, which are getting a new sculpt, if I recall correctly. The current one sucks dog, but it's hella fucking old, and they look like chibi Super Nintendo characters now. They have the Soul Splitter, which is a cool ass name for a great weapon. 1-inch range, 1 damage, 3 attacks though. That's kind of good. They do have a Mark of Chaos for some bonus power, and if you kill something, you get to reroll wounds in an AoE. So they're kind of like a totem that projects an aura of power if they manage to kill something. Yeah, only a 4-up save. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with Soul Reaper is 6, the attack inflicts 1 mortal wound, in addition to any normal damage. No longer stacks with Aura of Slaanesh for the extra hits, sadly. That's a rough one, kid. But these dudes are changing. When the new book comes out, their weapons are changing, their sculpts are probably changing, or their sculpts are changing. So this is, this is just like a historical, right? Shit's already different. Chaos Chosen. Chibi Knights, they look like Shovel Knight. They got big ass weapons for their size though. Look at these huge halberds, they look sick. Tons of armor. Look like Hero Quest models, and were probably made close to that time period. 1-inch range, only 1 damage. Yeah, they 6 to hit, inflict a mortal, but I'm not seeing it. No maidens. Next. Chaos Warriors with Chaos Great Blades. Is there a Great Blade option for the brand new fucking amazing looking Chaos Warriors instead of the derpy ass Hero Quest looking ass? Like, do these guys have an option for that? For the great weapon? Or are these just like monopose glued to their hands? Yeah, it's monopose glued to their hands shit. So they don't have an actual option for great weapons. That's a rough one. Ahem. So what do we do with this? Look at how great they look. So good. Damn. But no actual sculpted great weapon option in the box. I think they said we're getting like separate real boxes of Chaos Warriors coming in December, hopefully. That would be cool. Alright, Chaos Halberd or Great Blade. Alright, the Halberd has 2-inch reach. But the attacks are awful. You bet they removed the option in the book. Oh yeah, I wonder. They might do that Zip Zap wrap. That would be the lazier, easier choice for them. Why produce an extra thing? Just get rid of the rule, right? Anyway, their weapons fucking suck. They don't feel like great weapons to me, rules-wise. At least the Halberd has a 2-inch range, so I can't put them in not a great weapon tier. But like the Chaos Warriors you buy don't even include the option. So I might have to put them here just on technicality. Yeah, the Halberds do have 2-inch reach. But doesn't even come in the fucking box. And nothing else they do really counts, so not a great weapon. And, geez, it might even be going away in the future, who the fuck knows. And you would never play them like that. You would probably... I think you would just always use the hand weapons. No, you would always use the Great Blades. Who am I kidding? They still sell the box with the Great Weapons? Yeah, they do sell the old box with the Great Weapons. Fine, I'll put them in which case, I'll put them in No Maidens tier. They're in No Maidens tier. Not quite Ale Guzzler. The new cool ones don't have the option. The old fugly ones do. And they're like, okay. No Maidens. Decimators. These dudes. 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 2 damage, 1. Okay, so 5 attacks, you're sweeping them back and forth, I guess, maybe. Not to the degree that the bodyguards were, but... Thunder Axe, you got Star Soul Maces, which are sick. Add 2 to the attack's characteristic of the Thunder Axe if the number of the models in target unit is greater than the number of models in this unit, and it comes in 5, so... I don't know, half the time you're talking 7 attacks. With Decimators. Where do I put these guys at? Thunder Aches. These guys used to be really annoying because you had to measure each, but now they just gave them 1,000,000 attacks, which is cool. They're not really played ever, so they can't rise too highly because they're just not used, really. Even Bullgors are used sometimes to cool effect. Let's talk about aesthetics. What do we got here? Okay, so you couldn't find Decimat. Your search feature could not handle that. But I type in Decimat or, and it pops up immediately. Nice search feature. So I'm of the opinion I don't like almost any first wave Stormcast stuff. The first wave of Stormcast was hella fucking ugly, and I don't like the backpacks, and I don't like the shoulders, and I don't particularly like the helmets. I don't like this sheet. I just don't like first edition, first wave Stormcast. I think it's ugly as hell. And it's improved considerably since then, and only very recently have we gotten Stormcast to legitimately look cool. However, the Paladins, and particularly the Retributors, look dope. So I actually do like the Paladins. It's the only thing about the first wave that I like. The Star Soul Maces are whack. I'll give you that. It's a mace made out of axes. And it's clearly just they're using this thing here and copy and pasting it in a quadrant, right? It's lazy, kind of doesn't look cool. Ass stuff, right? But I actually like the armor of the early Paladins. Huge. So the axes are okay. The Star Soul Mace looks stupid. This thing looks cool, though. This is a proper axe. This is a good one. And their armor is sick. I'm going to give their aesthetics a pass. A passing grade. Even though Star Soul Maces look kind of whack. But this dude's pretty cool. I mean, it's just a big axe. That's nice. Anyway, passing grade for the aesthetics. Not really used because there are better options for... rules-wise for Paladins right now, which is Protectors. And people aren't really using Paladins because if they were going to use something like a Paladin, they're going to use Annihilators instead. There was a brief period of time when people would use like 10 Retributors, but it was really early on in the game and it wasn't that great. Paladins have just always kind of never been great. But their shit looks cool. and they have 7 attacks a model with Star Soul Maces and stuff, so maybe situational. They're above No Maiden's quality. The situational is probably about as high as you can get for something that no one ever plays with, I think. Unless your shit is just so awesome, right? Ahem. Oh, we're going through all the paladins, are we? Okay. Well, I was just talking about protectors, who are just better than all the other types of paladins, really. Ahem. So these guys have 7 attacks a model, and a Star Soul Mace, or 2. And these guys have only 5, but they have a 2-up save, because of Shield of the Storm. They're chilling on a 2-up save instead of a 3-up save, and so I'll probably take those extra attacks, especially when you're using 2 Star Soul Maces anyway. Also, 3-inch range, big. Huge range. Damn, the length. That's a great-ass weapon. And they use them for defense, that's pretty cool. And these things might actually, sometimes are used-ish. So they are ahead of these guys. These guys arguably look a little cooler, but these ones might get used, maybe. And so, still situational, but ahead. They are ahead. Next is Retributors. These are the ones with the big hammers, the coolest looking ones. They only have 3 attacks, but their weapons are feeling more great weapon. Rend 2, damage 2. Okay, they're a little bit of a slammer. Only 1-inch range, though. Yikes. More expensive than the one that they are worse than. But at least the worst ones aren't the most expensive, which is sometimes the case. Also, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made a lightning hammer is 6, target suffers 2 mortal wounds. Nice. Okay, these are feeling more great weapon to me. For sure. Also, they look the coolest in my IMO. Retrib? Oh, sorry. I can't just type in retrib. Oh, there we go. Now it'll pop up. I guess I just had to wait. Never mind. Hammers just aesthetically look way more pleasing on dudes with this much armor. I can't fully explain myself, but that's it. This is peak first wave Stormcast aesthetics. It just didn't get any better than this. Particularly the Retributor helmets. Look at these. Way cooler. Basically everything else in first wave I hate, but the shit, specifically Retributors, looking hot. Alright, super cool. And it feels more great weapon. You probably still wouldn't play with them, but you know what? In a great weapon tier list of units, even though you probably wouldn't play with them instead of protectors, they look cooler, more mortal wounds, more great weapon feel. You're up here. You're ahead of the other paladins. I remember executioners. Unfortunately, executioners were they caught the bad end of the deal. 1-inch reach, 1 damage. It's not looking good. However, they got a 4-up save and they look okay. They're old, all right, but they look cool. And if the unmodified hit roll is a 6, the attack inflicts 1 mortal wound, and the attack sequence ends. It used to do 2 mortal wounds and was actually cool, and sometimes maybe used. But it's been a long time. They look pretty sick though for an ancient model. For an ancient model, it's like, you know, you chose Reaper in Overwatch, right? They're edgy, and they hit that demographic of dark elf, edgy. Look at my scary face mask, you know, cool ass swords. Old, but kind of still got it ish if you're lining them up like this on squares. Their stats are garbage though, and they used to be arguably okay. No longer. No longer. Sad. They're not... Are they Ale Guzzler, really? I don't know. Well, just because you... Let's see. They're bad. But these dudes look worse, right? Like, Bullgors look worse, aesthetically. But it's just like you'll never play with them for really any reason. And they don't really feel like great weapons at all, right? This feels like a great weapon, it just sucks and it looks terrible. I think they're Ale Guzzler. I could put them at the bottom of No Maidens out of pity, out of pure pity. Because even though they're ancient, they do still kind of look cool. But it's just that. They have nothing else going for them. It doesn't even feel like they're using two-handed weapons. Perhaps the only way you get into Ale Guzzler is if you're absolutely useless and you look like shit. So, alright. GG. Graveguard. Great white blades, 1 inch reach only, but 2 damage. Okay. And wound rolls, proc immortal wound in addition. Not instead of, but in addition. In a squad with some buffs, these guys actually slap. They are slap chops. And yeah, exactly, Chris Hammer. For once, it isn't GG no re. It's GG re. I'm just about to reanimate them, right? So they're cool. Aesthetically, are there new Graveguard? I don't think there are. I don't think they're a new Graveguard. Most of the Graveguard I've seen in real life have been custom ones. Because this looks awful. Their weapon, the great weapon versions are shit. This is looking bad. This is looking real bad. I mean, it's supposed to be kind of cartoony, you know, the Odyssey sort of looking ass skeletons. You get 10 of them. You can do some great damage, though. They slap chop. Where are we putting? Can you touch Grace without looking cool? Yes, because we put Bullgors there. Aside from that, the rules are pretty good. They only have 1 inch reach, I guess, but they're slapping. Yeah, they look terrible, but I think they touched Grace. You know, truly. You get a block of 20 of these rolling up, catch a buff or two, they will slap someone with their great weapons and toss some mortal wounds on for kicks. In addition, actually not bad. Not bad and good work. Find some custom ones. Freeguild Greatsworders. 1 inch reach. 1 damage. Although it does, I guess, proc immortal, so that's at least something. Do these feel like great weapons stat-wise? Not really. I guess they do have a proc, though. This is back in the old days, in the olden days of AOS. Normal person with great weapon meant +1 rend. It was sad. And this is kind of still what that is. They're on 25, so they can still get 2 ranks of attacks. They actually kind of slap if you put buffs and stuff on them. They're 2s and 3s if you have a dude near them. Let's check the aesthetics. Okay, they are hella showing their age. But they do have just a concept, right? They do have a bit of soul. They got the wiggly ass flamberge stuff going on. Big cod pieces, feathers in their caps. The aesthetic, or the style, is on point. The model itself is looking hella derpy, right? And truly ancient. And these stupid ass pants, it's the flamboyant nature of them. That's what I like about them. They don't have magic powers, they don't have new sculpts. They're just flamboyant as fuck with huge weapons. The wiggles make you bleed more. Yeah, and it's easier to pull it out, too. Like, you know that they're supposed to be humans and whatever, but you just can't get over those stupid pants. I can't argue with you. The pants are indeed stupid. I think that's supposed to be the point there. They're supposed to be flamboyantly silly looking, right? I'm thinking situational, probably. Ahem. Probably situational. That sculpt just really hurts them. But they're like situationally playable. Ish. Yeah, I'll put them there. Do you think they will discontinue Cities of Sigmar with the Crusade, with the Dawnbringer Crusades? No, I don't. It's just like, it's the 3rd edition of their game. We're what, 6 or 7 years into Age of Sigmar? The time of retiring an entire army and telling someone, hey, your army is just gone. Your army is gone completely. The time for that is long since over in the timeline of switching from one game to another. When you transition from a dead game that you kill, Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and a brand new game that you start trying to use as much as the model line as you can, Age of Sigmar, there's a reasonable expectation of a grace period where you can take like factions or armies and just say, okay, we're no longer going to do this. And that's maybe 1st edition. After that, the armies that you're using, they're locked in. You might switch some cups and balls around a little bit. Like, oh, Legions of Nagash become Soulblight Gravelords that uses most of those models still, but maybe 1 or 2 it doesn't. And like, even that is a little unprofessional, but you can excuse that. But if you're taking all of Cities of Sigmar and just dumping it in the garbage and being like, okay, brand new model line, almost humans only, buy the Dawnbringer Crusades, please. No. I think that'd be so unprofessional to do. Like, all the Wanderers gone, you know, all the Dispossessed gone. Yeah, I don't know. This long into the game, I feel like you're locked into the factions you're selling people. True Extra Demon, yeah, they did do that with Swifthawk Agents and Order Draconis. Right up, I think during, maybe it was the very beginning of 2E or something. Yeah. That one's not as bad, I guess. But it still sucks. The entire thing, though, jeez. You should have ripped the Band-Aid off a long time ago if you were planning on doing this. Or let people know or something, I don't know. Grimghast Reapers. These are the ones that were used almost exclusively forever because it was the only Nighthaunt unit that was good. And Legions of Nagash stole it to use it better for a little while there. They got 2-inch range with weapons that are exactly as big as the Bladegeist Revenants, but these ones are 2-inch instead of 1 for some reason. However, their stats are totally just not at all great weapon quality. 4s and 3s, 1 damage. I guess they have 2-inch range, and they do have like a swinging back and forth, you know, you're reaping. You get bonus attacks if there's like a bunch of dudes there, so that's something, I guess. Every time I look at all this 1 damage stuff from Nighthaunt, I get a little sad, but my opinion is spoiled by being in Ogres, where you have a lot of multi-damage weapons. Their battle line always, which is cool. 2-inch range is pretty useful. I don't know if people are going to use these in new Nighthaunt or not. I kind of like them in new Nighthaunt because I like the range, and they're pretty similar to the other ones, as long as you're not in the sub-faction that makes the Bladegeist Revenants much better. You think Dawnbringer is going to pull an SBGL? Yeah, they did do that, didn't they? I had a lot of conversations with people that sent me messages on Patreon back when I ever did stuff with Patreon and advertised it, which I generally don't anymore because I don't do anything for Patreon, and so I feel it's unfair to advertise it unless someone wants to just purely give me money for no reason. But back then I did stuff for it sometimes, and I got so many messages on Patreon when like Soulblight Gravelords came out, or was about to come out, and people were like, hey, my army was Archon the Black, a third of it's Nighthaunt, a third of it is, you know, Morghast Archives, and then the other third of it is like skeletons and stuff. You know, what do I do now? And I'm just like, I don't know, they fucked you over, dude. It's not my fault, and here I am trying to pick up the pieces with some poor soul whose army got split into thirds and put into 3 different army books. Like, yeesh. Maybe I should be more forthcoming about it. I really don't know what they're going to do with Cities of Sigmar. And regardless of how unprofessional or how long ago they should have ripped the band-aid off, and, you know, they probably wouldn't. Dude, they've been doing small things like that for a while. Maybe I should just tell people, don't get into cities. Because we don't know what's going to happen. Like, is it irresponsible of me if I were to put a huge disclaimer in the Every Army video? Like, Dawnbringer Crusades are coming, and we have no clue what Games Workshop's plan for this army is? Maybe it's irresponsible not to put such a warning in the Every Army video, now that I think about it. You know, little Timmy just gets introduced to AOS and he gets Cities of Sigmar, and in 1 year, like, the whole thing is squatted, and now you have to buy something else. Like, am I kind of culpable for that? I have no idea. Or, you know, Dawnbringer comes out, and Cities of Sigmar is just fine. Everything, keep playing with it, don't worry about it. In fact, they get, you know, they're in half of the new book. And, you know, false alarm. I just don't know. Yeah, unsure. And it's kind of a can of worms. I suppose from now on, I might as well just let people know, hey, this faction is for people who already own this stuff. And if you don't, buyer beware, because we don't know. Maybe that's better, you know? Anyhow, Grimghast Reapers, they're okay. For a long time, they were better than okay. But now they're just okay. I like the 2-inch reach. They look cool. They don't look as cool as Bladegeist Revenants. And it's not even close. But they still look cool. They got the cursed vision of Sargeras right there on all their faces. They managed to kill Illidan a few times. They got that leather helm. That's best for everybody. They tend to catch on stuff and tip over a lot on the table, which loses them a point or two. These are indeed great weapons, but they're situational. Maybe there. Maybe right there. The Bell Bonker is cool. I am a fan. You want them to refresh all of Cities of Sigmar? Oh, like create new sculpts for it? Yeah, obviously. I mean, as a person who is just sitting in my chair and wishes to snap their fingers and say, hey, you should remake 200 sculpts in the whole game and just upgrade them just like you did with Chaos Warriors. Yeah, hell yeah. The entire Ogre army, right? 1/4 of Gits. Bone Splitters, to be honest. Ale Guzzler Gargants. The other half of Death. The entirety of Flesh Eater Courts. The entirety of Beast of Chaos. 9/10 of Disciples of Tzeentch. 1/4 of Slaanesh. 1/4 of Nurgle. The entirety of Skaven, basically. Some of Slaves to Darkness, which they have been working on. The entirety of Cities of Sigmar. The entirety of Seraphon, except for Kroak. Literally everything. And, you know what? Dryads and Spy Revenants and stuff. Is that like 200 models already, or is that 300 models? I wonder. It's probably 200. That would be cool. But Abhorrent Arc Regent is sick. You can sit. Sure, you can keep him. You can keep him. Spite Revenants. I was trying to throw in a hot take. I think Spite Revenants look dumb. Tree revenants look weird but okay. Spy revenants I'm not a fan of. I don't like the like cartoon ghost with a sheet cut, face and claw stuff, and I'm not like the biggest fan of it. But it was mostly a meme. Stuff in Sylvaneth looks fine. And you can paint him up real cool, like, anyway. Anyway. Next. Dispossessed Hammerers. These lads. Speaking of ancient stuff. These are two-handers for dwarves. And, the models are really old and stuff, but it's a dwarf covered in full plate with a beard. You don't need a lot of polygons to show that on the table, right? Super samey and stuff, but they're fine. You can cover almost their entire body in bolt gun metal, and then put one wash over it, and the shit's basically done. And, they have quarter pounders here, we'll call them. Aesthetics, Gromril Great Hammers sound cool. 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1/1. And the mortal wound on a 6 to wound. Oh, it's in addition, though. It's in addition. These guys used to be able to pound kind of okay if you put a shitload of buffs on them. I don't know how much more they can take now. They basically don't have a movement characteristic. Where do we put these guys? These dudes. Is it really Ale Guzzler, or is it No Maidens? I see the picture here. These are Longbeards. Oh, Hammers. Here we go. Yeah, they do get +1 rend from the Rune Lord, I guess, and then possibly like Aura of Glory around something. You can get some decent buffs on them. I don't think they're Ale Guzzler. They're not quite there. They're maybe like one of the more playable stuff in the No Maidens tier. Maybe here. Yeah. No Maidens for sure. Consider the leak new models. Yeah, I mean, it's not out yet, but Lord of the Golden Skull, it feels like great things are ahead for Chaos Chosen. Those new models, maybe a new War Scroll, you have a chance. You have a chance to become a Chad, or at least a Grand Slammer. If that Streamlabs message is intentional, that is hilarious. Which one? Oh, oh no, my robot is gone and it's called Streamlabs now. That's weird. Ahem. Warden King gives hammers +1 attacks as well. I think he does, with his standstill ability, right? He kind of holds up. His sculpt holds up, I think. Nezzer Moore thinks it's maidenless. Also high Heywoah. Yeah, I think it is too. I think they're maidenless. Ironguts. Big boys. Alright, let's get the aesthetics out of the way, shall we? Iron Goots. The Iron Glutes. Okay. These dudes are big, and they indeed have humongous weapons. This weapon is bigger than the ogre is, and ogres are... even gluttons are 10 feet tall. That being said, the sculpts are looking old, and really it's damn, it really is just like gluttons holding a different weapon. No, I mean, they got cool shit on. It's not exactly just that, but it often reads like that. Yeah, it's not great. And it's pretty similar to gluttons, honestly, who themselves are not great. Kind of low effort. I mean, they are big. That's true. 2-inch range. 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 3. Ooh, okay. Now we're talking. This is a proper great weapon stat line. In the modern era, it's kind of sad that it's only rend 1. In the save stacking metagame that we have in the core rules of 3rd edition. But 3 damage weapons, 2-inch reach, 3 attacks a model. Grown man damage. Also, the amount of buffs you can put on these guys is kind of absurd. You can give them +1 attack a model. You can give them +1 rend. You can give them +1 to hit. Well, okay, besides the normal +1 to hit that you can give them. You can light them up with even just 4 Ironguts. And they're on 40 mil bases, which means that if you have a unit of 8, all 4 get to attack because of the range. And so and now we're getting into the very unlikely zone, which is one of the reasons why ogres kind of struggle, but if it happens to be that you get both of your buffs to cast and not get unbound, a unit of 8 Ironguts is doing upwards of 60 damage, even against good armor. Like, they're doing, like, Daughters of Cain level damage. Insanity. Fully save stacked, it's less, but they can still probably kill anything, which is pretty sick. Down to the Ironguts is a shit-ass ability. They basically don't have a war scroll. Like, none of this stuff matters on the scroll. Runemaw Bearer is laughably bad. They don't do anything. They're a weapon profile on legs, and that's it. For way too many points, and if you kill one of them, their charge sucks now. And they're fragile considering how expensive they are. I don't think they're even a good choice to play even in Gutbusters right now. But by God, if they fucking hit something, it's dead. So cool. Alright, where are we putting them? They're not particularly playable, but if you do, they can actually do real work. It's not like kind of can't do real work, you know? It's just like they're way expensive and fragile and stuff. But if you get a unit of 8 of them, they can kill Archeon or whatever. And their damage is absurd, and their weapons are huge. Their sculpt's really bad, though. Man, this one's tough. You thought you gave the enemy unit -1 to save? Yeah, I'm just using a mental shortcut. It's the same. It's not the same thing, but for ease of speaking. Tay Barracuda, thanks for the tier 1. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Ogres need a scale increase. Sigmar is getting a slight scale creep problem. I don't think it's a problem, because I like the new scale. The problem is that everything doesn't have the new scale, I guess, which maybe that's your whole point. But I don't think they're problematically big. I just think now, or even before the scale creep, some of the old stuff wasn't quite proper, I don't think. So here are the problems with Ironguts. They're not particularly great in the game, but they can... Well, I don't want to say but every time. We'll do positives and negatives. So, con. They're not great on the table. Con. Really unreliable. Con. Their sculpts are fugly and small. And not particularly different enough or interesting compared to other ogres. And also only rend 1. Pro. Even though they're not very good, you can play them, and if you get really lucky, they will golf club swing, like you're standing on the table with a 9-iron and just smack anything off the table. That's sick, right? And their weapons are properly great weapon feeling when you actually use them, which is rare. So what do we do? What do we do with these guys? Their weapons are kind of like Grand Slammer tier. And their mechanics, if you get lucky and everything works for you. But the sculpts are like Ale Guzzler, and how good they are on the table is probably like No Maidens tier. So this shit is just all over the place. I'm going to put them at the top of situational. I think. This is a pure compromise, by the way. It looks like ass. Not really any good. But can perform well sometimes, I guess. And they really feel meaty and like a great weapon that you would want. So just they're pulled from second highest to the lowest, and they just end up in situational. Next. Kurnoth Hunters with great swords or with sides. I can put these both in the same category. Alright, Kurnoth Hunters with great swords. These dudes are large. 4 attacks a model, 3s and 3s, 1-2. Pretty decent great sword stats. They have a fun little extra rule. If the hit is a 6, it inflicts a mortal wound and in addition to normal damage. Alright. Nice little critical hit there. And then they got some other rules. Kurnoth hunters with great swords are the ones people have been... Well, okay. Kurnoth hunters with great swords are the ones you use if you are wrong. And Kurnoth hunters with scythes are the ones that you have always used and continue to if you are correct. And it's really just because of the extra range and the extra rend. If you stack all of your buffs, you miss out on a few mortal wounds. But being range 2 on 50 mil bases that often can only pile in 1 inch, get out of here. You need that. You need that shit. Also, the rend 2 helps. If you're super greedy, I suppose you can go with great swords on a unit of only 3 instead of 6. But either way, I'm considering them both basically the same. Let's see what they look like. Here we have great swords. These dudes are actually huge. They got crazy hair. Big old classic looking great swords. Can we get some scythes up in this? The scythes look hella stupid. It's got to be this ball here. I think this ruins it for me. This ball right here should be right here as a counterweight. Like, these things should be counterweight scythes, I think. Because this part isn't, like, it isn't that bad. Something about it doesn't ring true to me, but it's not that bad. It's this. This shit needed to have, like, either a counterweight here or a mirrored edge, so that it's like a double scythe, except painting, or except facing the opposite direction, so they can spin them, like in Star Wars. This one needed to go back to the drawing board. But Kurnoth hunters look cool, they're big. Big damage weapons, good reach if it's these, good rend if it's these, good proc if it's the other one. Yeah, and the hollowed out torso thing does look cool in person, and you can put stuff in there if you're into conversions. Kurnoth hunters, overall, pretty decent, and a unit of 6 of them has been being used to teleport and charge and get the reroll charge as, like, just about the only good part of Sylvaneth. Geez, until they started getting new models, really. Where am I putting these? These probably touched Grace? Did these touch Grace, or are they Grand Slammers? They might be Grand Slammers. They can slap, dude. Sylvaneth is changing, so who knows, but I might Grand Slam these. There's a lot of buffs they can absorb too, and have been for a little while. Kind of pricey. Just had a War Scroll change. Wait, am I using the new War Scroll? Or the old one? The old one where they can't pile in, but they have a 3-up save. I don't think too much has noticeably changed, really, with them. Yeah, only the new bow has it, and Envoys of the Everqueen got way the fuck worse. Which might ruin everything for these guys. I'm going to use the old ones. Yeah, we'll use the old ones. It's not officially out, so it's not out yet. I think Kurnoth hunters are probably Grand Slammer tier. And I'll put the size ahead because they're factually better. I like the troll Sylvaneth players, because all the competitive Sylvaneth players I've ever heard of all prefer greatswords, and all the Sylvaneth players I've ever played against have all been scythes, so I don't know who's right. I just like pretending I feel strongly about it when I don't. I think we're Grand Slamming on them. Also, they carried their whole faction on their back for an entire edition, basically, amount of time. And you have to respect your elders. Next up is longbeards, who look cooler than hammerers by a lot, and have been used as like min-size chaff for here and there throughout the history of Cities of Sigmar. 3-up saves, not great attacks. 1 attack, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 1, huh? That's a great weapon to you. That's a great axe. And they're grumbling, which is either add 1 to bravery, so no, or reroll wounds of 1, which is what you probably have to choose, or a dispel thing. Yeah, these guys, they're 105 points for 10 of them. Like, what do you want? You know. This is actually the one where I can safely say these are strongly just not great weapons at all. Bottom of the barrel. They look cooler than hammerers, so that's something. They look cooler, and they're probably Well, it's a different job, so you can't really compare them. But yeah, not really great weapons at all. Also boring, with boring rules. Plague Monks. These guys have 1,000,000 attacks. Technically, they do have 2-inch range on the Fwatted Blades and a staff or whatever, but this is a really quick and dirty, not a great weapon. And they're not Ale Guzzler tier because they're good. Wait, they're not good anymore. They used to be good. Yeah, they used to be good, but now they're not good. And they were more of a pain to resolve before than they are now, but yeah, I wouldn't call them great weapons, exactly. Some of this stuff could be a great weapon, like... It's time to do the thing where we have to, halfway through a tier, we have to ruin it by changing stuff. But... Bladegeists are situational, and they're better than those. And in fact, they're better than Grimghast Reapers. Doesn't feel very... They don't feel like two-handed weapons, but they're okay. And same with these dudes. Next. Wildwood Rangers. Yeah, these are great weapons. And they do 2 damage against monsters, unless that's changed. Yep, yeah, 2 damage against monsters. These are basically like Idnet Deepkin. Except way, way, way worse. They're on 25 mils instead of 32s. They have 2-inch range, so if you have 30 of them... Well, okay, not against the monster, but... Like, 20 of them might be able to get all their attacks in against the monster, possibly. If it got the charge. And they do a shitload of damage if they do. 5-up save. A few synergies to take advantage of. They kind of look cool, though. They're like... It looks like a Mortal Kombat character in... Warhammer. Maybe it's W-I-L-D. Maybe we're spelling it right. Yeah. Yeah, these guys kind of look like those random-ass cultists in a Mortal Kombat game. Where like 50 of them die against Baraka. You know? Their weapons are hella goofy, but they're clearly, you know, they're like Klingon kind of polearm looking stuff. And against monsters specifically, they do slap. Although maybe they don't have the Ren to slap nowadays against monsters. They're just kind of cool. Never, ever, ever played. I mean in all of history. 0. Are the odds of this kit still a thing? Eternal Guard, I think? Yeah, every once in a while someone actually plays Eternal Guard. Which is, I think, the alternative for this kit. Yeah, they look okay. Like weird Mortal Kombat dudes. Against monsters, their damage is cool, but literally never played. I would put them there. They are situational, I guess, because it's against monsters, but the situation has never arisen for them to get used in a game. Oh, Rockatragas, huh? These dudes. Very cartoony, really cartoony proportions, you know, tiny legs, big upper body, funny faces, and silly, you know, stuff all over the place. Not exactly my bag, to be honest. It's looking like a little bit like almost like a Blizzard comic book kind of art style version of a Warmahordes guy. But for what they were trying to do, they succeeded really well, obviously. The sculpts look great. It's just the style doesn't hit me personally, but that's no reason to say that a good job wasn't done. It was, right? And now what do we got? Massive Stone Maul. 2-inch range. 3s and 3s. -2, 3. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Alright. I'm getting a little Vince McMahon over here. Like, keep looking back. 2-inch range. 2-inch rend. Oh, yeah. Damage 3. Ooh. So good. 2 attacks. Oh, this kills the crab. 2 attacks. My brother in Christ for a 50mm base-sized unit in current year or 2 years ago or 4 years ago. Get the fuck out of my face. Also 5-up save. They do have a 5-up ward, though, which is pretty sick. And they can sometimes, maybe, do a D3 mortal wounds to something in the shooting phase. These guys are cool. These are cool. They're going somewhere pretty high. I think these guys touch Grace. They just barely touch Grace, though. Like, 2 attacks a model is so insulting for a 50mm base model that's supposed to be a big slugger. And even though aesthetically I'm not, like, in love with their style, they succeeded hugely at doing what they wanted to do with it. So I think these guys touch Grace. That weapon profile is just so good. Even if it's only 2 attacks a model, but I'm sad. You know, I'm sad about it. Are they better than these? Are they better than Graveguard? Maybe. Their function is kind of a rock, though, like kind of an anvil, a little bit. They've touched Grace, these guys. 3 left, no top tier. Seems GW needs to step up their great weapon game. Their great weapon game in AOS is pretty sad. And I'm letting aesthetics feed into a lot of these choices. After this, I'll do a really quick, like, just quality, you know, tier list, and therein will be the Doomer. The Doomer will come in. Annihilators with meteoric Grand Slammers. I mean, everyone was kind of waiting for this one, right? It took them 7 years, but they made a big body, big armor, big damage troop with a big base size that doesn't fucking suck. They finally did it. Meteoric Grand Hammers, 2-inch reach, 3 attacks a model, 3s and 2s. Ren 2, damage 3, 3 up save, 3 wounds a pop. The main dude gets big. They have blazing impact for impact hits. They have force of a fallen star when they land from Sigmar's very hand. Also, while I do think the first wave ones look a little better, they look like Sundowner from Metal Gear Revengeance. Just put fucking Sundowner's head right here. And I guess whenever you use the one with shield, just say he's 200% fucking invincible. Hilarious. Yeah, true. And points for the the Stormcast Paladin unit starter being sold in the correct size for once. If it isn't Saucy Jack. Alright, finally, we have a unit that looks good and is good. Proper number of attacks. Actually playable and usable. Arguably even good as long as your opponent has never heard of Chaff before, which a lot of opponents for some reason have not. 200% Sigmar, yeah. Their weapons really do feel like big, heavy, great weapons. They got the reach for it, they have the damage for it, they have the rend for it. This is it. This is the one true success. Alrith Stoneguard, aka Texas Longhorns. Techless Longhorns, pardon me. Alrith Stoneguard. These are the Hammer Bros. Everybody uses the Spear Bros. But let's talk about aesthetics. Now, I know what you're thinking. Their helmets make too much sense considering all we know about physics. And torque. And gravity. But if you gave these guys normal, and by normal I mean over the top for elves, but not like this stupid helmets, these guys would look great. These guys would look absolutely great. Look at these capes and the robes underneath their armor. Great aesthetic. I really like it. And I actually really like their big hammers too. And there's Chad here, like dual wielding quarter pounders. This unit, to me, like as far as taking the aesthetic of high elves, if you just ignore the top part of this helmet and do something else here, these are like 10 out of 10, did exactly what they were trying to do, excellent looking, durable, Pound Town kind of high elves. I hate these helmets, obviously. Most people do, but there are those who like them. And shouldn't that be how it is, kinda? Like, you play Lumineth. They weren't designing these models so that me, an ogre player, would like them. They were designing these models so that you, a Lumineth player, would like them, right? I'm not even supposed to like everything. In fact, I'm supposed to probably strongly dislike stuff in armies that I wasn't interested in anyway. You know, everything doesn't have to be for exactly you, right? Better to be loved or hated than forgotten. Yeah, Blizzanam. Mark Rosewater has a quote about that, although he's not talking about aesthetics for the most part. He's talking about game rules. And okay, I kind of put the cart before the horse on the big reveal here. You'll be able to immediately understand what the real answer is, but the way he proposed it was they send out cards through various rounds of playtesting, right? And they ask people to rate the cards 1 to 10 on how much they like them. And when they get it back, here's a card that got 100 responses. And it got 100 sevens, right? 100 people said 7 out of 10 for card A, all right? Card B, it got 50 nines and 50 twos. Which is the card that you print? A or B? The one that got all sevens or the one that got all twos and nines? And so obviously the reason I'm telling this story is because it's pertinent to our current conversation, so you've obviously guessed, but under normal circumstances it might surprise you to learn that it's the twos and nines. It's not the 7. And they learn this in development over the course of a million years in Magic R&D. And it's because if everybody thinks a card is okay, nobody loves it though. Nobody really cares. A card that's a 2 or a 9, not only does it mean that you'll be able to capture people who think it's a 9 out of 10, they love it. You're looking to get people to love something rather than just kind of like it or think it's okay. And the people that graded it too, well, that's just not their card. That's fine. They just won't use it. They just won't like it. You'll make a different 9 out of 10 that'll capture those people. You're looking to give people their own individual 9 out of 10s for their psychographic profile or whatever. And also, as a little side note tertiary thing, which I don't think social media was big when they came up with this idea, but the 2s and 9s creates a little bit of, usually, harmless controversy. People really hate those 2s and they tell people about it. And when they tell people about it, that information spreads, the pictures spread, people talk about it, you get that algorithm start churning. And if somebody really hates something, the algorithm actually favors it when you hate something more than if you really like something. Because it's a function of really human nature, to be honest. It's hardly even the algorithm's fault. So you actually do want 2s and 9s. For both the good reason and the bad reason. And these things are 2s and 9s. It's just a pity that as I'm looking at this dude right here, everything down here is a 9 and this is a 2. Usually you don't get a mixture on the same thing, but what are you going to do? Elder Stoneguard, they suck. Long story short, I'm not going to go over their rules. They suck, no one ever plays them. They seem pretty cheap, but yeah, they're just... that's the problem with the internal balance of Lumineth. It's real feast or famine, weal or woe, wax and wane. So what do we do with them? Aesthetically, they look awesome except for their hat, but some people like that. They're dog shit in the game. Do they feel very great weapon, though? No. Not really. Stratum Hammer is a hilarious name, though. Stratum Hammer. Or Stone Mallet or Diamond Pick Hammer. Maybe situational, maybe no maidens. Probably no maidens. Oralan Wardons. These are the ones with the huge 3-inch range. And this is, I think it's 3 inches in real life. It might be longer than 3 inches in real life. Holy shit. Let's talk aesthetics. 10 out of 10, exactly what high elves should look like. Yes, their helmets are stupid, but they're unreasonably stupid. Great looking shields. Nice long pikes. Good pose. Great armor. And for once, the default paint scheme is looking great. This shit's 10 out of 10, and people use these all the time. It's not necessarily for their damage, but it actually kind of is. I've played against big blobs of wardens, and they fuck shit up, actually. They got those sun metal weapons, which work on a 6, but actually work on a 5 after the one spell, and you can reroll after the other spell. So on and so forth. Do a lot of mortal wounds. Excellent reach. If the unit made a charge move, Rend 2, baby. I'm sorry, Rend 1. We're talking Warden Pikes, not Champion's Blade. Apologies. Also, they're a wizard, because everybody's a wizard. Anyway, they're the shit. And their aesthetics are like 10 out of 10. I'm thinking probably Grand Slam or 2. Like, so a pike, I think about great weapons, and I'm thinking like hammers and axes and huge swords and stuff. Pike might be like kind of a side conversation about great, but I'm thinking they count, and I'm putting them in Grand Slammers. Deal with it. From pommel to tip, it's 4 inches. Damn, the length. And they managed to get all the way up here because they look perfect, and they're actually played in the game, and they have rules that feel like, you know, they're doing what they're supposed to do. You do have to run them in humongo units to make them really worth, but you're supposed to. They have pikes, right? Like, House of Gomra is not a great weapon. I think this is a tier list specifically for units. Not like one hero, but like units of dudes who have big weapons. And so if we were including like single dudes, like one hero or something, you would have an extra 255 images here of almost every single hero in the game who had a sword that looked big. And so, you know. That being said, brutes. An honorable mention. And probably an honorable mention by omission. Like, this is probably an accident. Because you can outfit this whole unit with this shit. With the huge. And this dude right here. With the big stuff. The big dirties. Alright, aesthetically, 10 out of 10 orcs. They're properly, like, huge and muscular and round. Infinitely cooler than Bone Splitters and especially Ardboys, who look terrible. This is proper looking orcs. Finally, after so long. And their weapons look awesome. 10 out of 10, they look exactly like they should look. Now, as we're talking about rules, let's bring it up. Let's bring this shit up here. Tape checking intensifies. Where's my Orc War Clans? Here we go. To the Iron Jaws section. Oh, so sad. Look at how sad that guy looks and is. Because he looks so dumb. And then, where my brutes at? Oh, they did brutes first, because they knew. There we go. Orc brutes. Each model in an Orc Brutes unit is armed with one of the following weapons: Brute Choppa or Jagged Gore Hakkas. And Jagged Gore Hakkas are the two-handed version, the big 2-inch reach on all the men. 3 attacks, 3s and 3, -2 rend, only 1 damage, but keep in mind, you're adding 1 damage from Drummer Guy, you're giving them just a trillion buffs. So yeah, Jagged Gore Hakka, 2-inch reach, what will eventually be 2 damage, plus the main leader dude has a Gore Choppa, which will end up with 3. Big. You messin', yeah, Enemy models with wounds characteristic 1 that are within 3 cannot contest objectives because they're too big, right? And you get +1 to hit rolls when you're fighting big stuff, which is cool. Anyway, brutes with big weapons, they're fucking awesome. Yeah, gore gruntas are better, but gore gruntas are better than everything, so that's not fair. Orc brutes are like the second best unit. They're totally playable. Yeah, and also Waaagh gives an extra rend. The amount of damage these dudes could possibly do if you threw all the buffs on them is incredible. And they look sick, and they are sweet. Just because they're not the best unit in the entire book doesn't mean I'm going to drop them down too much, because these dudes aren't either. Nothing in here is. I don't think a single one of these great weapon units is actually like the best thing to be playing in its army. Maybe Hearthguard. Maybe Kurnoth, although it's changing now. So, you know, 8-inch move with the command. Yeah, 8-inch move with the command ability. They are fucking dope. Actually, Chad Piece wearers. Either Chad Piece wearers or the very top of Grand Slammer. They're probably neck and neck with Idna Deepkin here. So, Orc Brutes with the big weapons, I would say honorary placement, very top of Grand Slammer. Yeah, maybe Namarti, Realm of Thorns. Not bad. I hope you like the tier list. This was aesthetics plus look and feel of what it means to be a great weapon, plus how good they are on the table. I just mixed and matched everything. A big combo, if you will. As far as quality of rules on the table, well, situational, no maidens, no maidens, no maidens, but high. Situational, possibly, do you use like one unit of this? Maybe, situational. Bottom, no maidens, no maidens. Probably using other stuff. Trash, 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 situational, just touched grace, just touched grace. Yeah, maybe this is how it would be if we were just talking about rules. Maybe trash. Yeah, something like this. Look saves a lot of models, yes. Yeah. Games Workshop has not ever been very good at writing like big meat and potatoes, large based dudes. Generally they try and they end up with like no attacks and not even close to being worth their points durability wise, even though their armor save looks good in a vacuum. Yeah, they've never really been very good at that. Before it was about spamming a bunch of troops because that was just straight better. And then later it was about save stacking on monsters and stuff and heroes because that was just better. Very rarely do you get something with stats that seem worth it. With a support structure in the army that makes you actually want to play them. And even these, competitively aren't very good because people run chaff and stuff, right? And you'd rather run flyers with 1,000,000 movement. Even though thralls are better than they've ever been right now. So, yeah, it's an egg they gotta crack, I guess. Anyhow, there you go, please enjoy.